And we are wrestling with AEW All Out. It was the biggest show in pro wrestling for quite some time. Um, that wasn't a WWE event. Some are saying it's one of the biggest of all time. Some are saying it's the biggest of this year. Um, let's get into it. TNT Championship match. Miro defeated Eddie Kingston in 13 minutes and 29 seconds. Um, I can have a lot of problems with this show. I think that it was a solid show from beginning to end, but I kind of feel like you have to have a banger at the very beginning to kind of get the crowd going. And it wasn't a bad match, but I don't think that this was the match that maybe should have started the show. What say you, Drew?
If you don't put this match to start the show, what do you start the show with?
I mean, you could put Britt Baker, you could put, well, yeah, you could put Moxley and Kojima, considering what happened at the end of that match. I mean, there was a couple different scenarios.
I think the way that Tony Khan formatted the show made a lot of sense. Like, I am okay with this match like you. I was 100% okay with it, and I was okay with it going on first. Because, number one, Eddie Kingston was so over after his line on Rampage when they had their interaction. Yeah, and then what happened? He rolled out with the Redeem These Nuts t-shirt. Now that is available on AEW Shop. That's the thing I love about AEW. As soon as somebody says a hot line, it becomes product. It becomes a t-shirt. Bubbly is being made. They are very smart on their marketing. Like you said, you could have opened with Britt Baker. You could have opened with Moxley and Kojima. You could have opened even with the Casino Battle Royal. But to me, this match made sense to open the show. Give them a little curtain jerker. The fans love Eddie Kingston. The fans kind of are behind Miro. And honestly, I think this is some of the best work Miro has done in his career, even better than his Rusev Day stuff. I really believe when he cuts his promos, he actually believes what he's saying. These are not lines.
I was never the biggest fan of Rusev. I've always been very critical. But, you know, this version of Miro, and I'm not hating it, which is something to say.
I think he believes what he's saying, and he's backing it up in the ring. So this match, to me, good opener. Couldn't see whatever else you could have put as to open the show. You could have even said the match that was in the buy-in could have opened the show, but to each his own. But I don't see a problem with this match being the opener match.
All right. Next match, Jon Moxley defeated Satoshi Kojima in 11 minutes and 52 seconds. We kind of already knew who was going to win this match, but it was still a fun match. The people popped for Kojima, which is...
Yes, they did.
Which kind of added to the match.
Yes. This crowd was super over for everything that AEW was selling to them. Everything. You could have put SpongeBob versus Cinnamon Toast Crunch on the buy-in, and they would have ate it up. With Jeffrey from Toys R Us as the special guest referee, they would have ate it up. I'm dead serious. They would have ate it up. And I think what happened over this weekend, or over All Out weekend, is that it was the first time in a long time that wrestling fans could be excited about a wrestling show. I don't even think they were this excited for All In. That first show that preceded AEW.
Yes.
And I think this show, anything that came out was super hot and super over. They ate it up. Like I said, Cinnamon Toast Crunch going up against SpongeBob with Jeffrey from Toys R Us, special guest referee. Book it. They would eat it up. I'm dead serious. But It's what happened even after this match that got the crowd even super more excited.
Oh yeah. Minoru Suzuki came out and usually there's just a stare down. Suzuki and Moxley kind of had a little impromptu match, so to speak. They beat the crap out of each other, and Suzuki hit Moxley with the God style power driver, leaving him laying in the ring. I wasn't expecting that. I was
No,
not
me either.
expecting that surprise, and
But
that
we
was
can't. This is the era now. We can't expect. We can always expect the unexpected from AEW. This forbidden door, right?
yeah.
Anybody can walk through it at any time, and this night proved that 100%.
That brings us to our next match, AEW Women's Championship match. Dr. Britt Baker, DMD, with Rebel, not Reaper, and Jamie Hayter defeated Chris Statlander with Orange Cassidy in 11 minutes and 30 seconds. You know, Statlander's a great wrestler and all. I kind of felt like this match was maybe slightly cold because there was not a lot of build-up beforehand.
Yeah, I agree
Nonetheless,
with that.
nonetheless, people still loved it because Britt Baker was in it.
Britt Baker is one of the most over people in AEW.
Yes.
Like I said, anything that was coming through down the ramp, they were for it. Like I totally agree with you. There was really a limited amount of build to this match, but because Britt Baker is so over, they were gonna cheer for it regardless. And Chris Statlander is a great wrestler. I just hope she doesn't get lost in the shuffle with the new additions to the women's roster of AEW.
Oh, absolutely. And that brings us to the AEW World Tag Team Championship match. It's a steel cage. It's the Young Bucks versus the Lucha Bros. The Lucha Bros won in 21 minutes and 56 seconds. Definitely a car crash match if you like those. And I really enjoyed this match. What say you, Drew?
This was the most enjoyable 22 minutes that I've had. That didn't include my wife. Just joking. Just kidding. No, honestly, let me be serious for a moment here. It was the most enjoyable 22 minutes that I've had watching a professional wrestling match. It had ups, it had downs, we got Nike Air Force Ones with thumbtacks on them. We got Stooges throwing bags into the cage. We got and the thing was, even there's the crazy bumps were kept to a minimum. Like when Phoenix went to the top of the cage, he didn't do a 950 shooting star press off the top of the cage. It was a simple crossbody dive. But honestly, if I was as a wrestling fan and I was trying to introduce somebody to professional wrestling, these 22 minutes would be the 22 minutes that I would show them. Because this is what harkened back to what made all of us enjoy professional wrestling, because it got our emotion involved in it. When that shoe came out, you heard the crowd start chanting, "You sick F." Like, these are things that you cannot chant at a WWE show. This show was so, from the first match to this match, everything flowed. But this right here, if this was the end of the show, if this was, we're done for the night, we'll see you on Wednesday night, I'm telling you, the Chicago fan base would have went home happy. The entrance that the Lucha Brothers got with the guy rapping their theme song was so energetic. Them coming up with the stuff from the Mexican heritage was amazing. Everything that the Young Bucks entrance, everything that they did was so put together so perfectly well, and it's one of the best matches of the year to me right now. If I had to crown a match of 2021, I was my match before this one was Will Ospreay and Shingo Takagi for match of 2021, and also I could say Bianca Belair and Sasha from WrestleMania night one, but this match blew both of those matches out of the water for me. My thing is, yes, the Young Bucks don't have the titles anymore, but these guys, when you put these four in the ring together, it's magic. So I would love to see another match with these guys down the road, some other place.
Definitely, and it's not the first time they've wrestled. It's not even the fifth time, and it's just kudos to them that they could have 50 billion matches with each other and still have something fresh and new that we might have not seen prior to this. And on just another topic, Brian Cutler, is it Brian Cutler? Cutler.
Yes, it's Brian Cutler, yeah.
Yeah. He drew that bag with that shoe. One shot. That was legitimately a 20-foot
Yeah, it's a 20-foot cage, and he threw that cleanly. Like, sign him up for the Bears, man.
First try, and I was like, damn! I was like, somebody practiced that before, and if not, still kudos to him, because that was like, wow. But no, absolutely, a fantastic match. Sometimes with all the stupidness that the Young Bucks have done in recent months,
their group, the Elite is supposedly playing that cowardly heel where we need uber amount of help, but we still say we're the best in the world kind of thing. But this match, just without even Brian Cutler's subtle thing by throwing the bag into the cage, wasn't too much. And then it wasn't Matt or Nick that took the shoe and then licked the bottom. I'm like, come on, man. Everything was, it wasn't even what they were doing match psychology wise. It was emotion. You were emotionally invested, and every kick out meant something, and every near fall meant something, and every they're climbing to the top of the cage, and every super kick, like the one sequence when they're throwing super kicks and then Penta ducks and then he gets up and he gets kicked, and then it's like everything, you were emotionally invested in these four guys, no matter if you were cheering for the Young Bucks or you were booing for the Young Bucks, or you were cheering for the Lucha Brothers. It took you on a ride. And that's why I said to me, timing was perfect. The 22 minutes didn't seem long, and it flew by, and you enjoyed every minute of it. And I went back and watched it again recently, and you still get enjoyment from it. And that's what I'm saying with what's going on now with the stuff in ring has been great over the last few years. But this match, for me, hands down, I don't know if another match, maybe a match in the G1 tournament takes the crown, but right now, this is my match of 2021.
All right. And we have the Women's Casino Battle Royal. Ruby Soho made her debut, eliminating Thunder Rosa to win in 22 minutes and 2 seconds. Soho got a pop, and people are really treating it, obviously Daniel Bryan, Adam Cole, CM Punk, but Soho was mentioned in all of this, in this as well. So, and honestly, personally, I kind of feel great that she kind of got a little bit comeuppance as well. What are your thoughts, Drew?
They made her look like $1 million in 10 minutes. They booked her better than WWE had booked her for 4 years. Honestly, in 10 minutes.
Oh, yeah.
Because they allowed her to be her. And that's what people want to see. No matter whatever you're tuning into, no matter if it's sports, no matter if it's professional wrestling, no matter if it's a dramatic TV show on Peacock, you want to be able to connect with the people. And Ruby Soho connected with people. That's why when she came out, you could see the legitimate joy that she had on her face, and the crowd had the same joy, and she enjoyed every moment of it. And they made her look like $1 million in 10 minutes. At the expense of my favorite wrestler in AEW, No, not Thunder Rosa, yes, and Jade Cargill was another one.
I can make the argument that Jade isn't ready at this point.
I agree. Like, she has 2 out of the 3 that you're looking for. She has the look and she can talk on the mic, but I don't think in ring right now she is 100%. I think polish that up and that's a superstar in the making. Especially if you turn her face.
And if she's going for, a Britt Baker right now, she'd probably just get eaten alive.
Yes.
That brings us to our next match, and you were pretty critical off air while we were talking about it. The final fight, Chris Jericho defeated MJF in 20 minutes and 55 seconds. I personally didn't have a problem with it. I mean, MJF has 3 wins over Jericho. They needed to have, a conclusion to the story where the face wins. And that's kind of what it is. I mean, it wasn't a 10-star match, but it kind of did what it needed to do, in my opinion. But I know you have a different opinion, Drew.
I have a major heavy different opinion because as a guy that's a major Chris Jericho mark, I'm a big Chris Jericho mark. I've been watching Chris Jericho from he joined ECW and then he was over in WCW as the Lionheart, and then he had arguably to me the greatest debut in the history of the WWE, being the Millennial Man. And then he's come to AEW, and yeah, he's done some amazing things. I just got tired. I think for me, the whole story with him and MJF was overkill. I think that story should have ended when MJF beat him at the last Labor. And that was it. And then MJF could have went off and done some other story. I get that they needed a complete blow off, but for the face to get the win. But I just think at the age and stage that Chris Jericho is in his career, putting over MJF would have helped MJF immensely because MJF is a mark like me for Chris Jericho. So imagine him going around for the next how many years of his career saying, I'm the guy that put Y2J down. I'm the guy that put the Demo God down and Le Champion. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like that would be his. That would have elevated him to that next step. And maybe it's just me personally. I love Chris Jericho, but at this stage of your career, you don't need wins over guys that are 23, 20, 22, 23 years old. Like you'll be the guys that criticize those old guys when you were coming up. Oh, they never jobbed to us and this, that, and the thought. Yes, you jobbed him 3 times, then it should have been done. MJF could have said no, and then that was the time where you're like, you know what? I got to go reevaluate. He doesn't wrestle for a while. He's on the commentary team. And then MJF could be the one that brings up the stipulation. Hey, you know what? I'll give you another match. But if you don't beat me, you're done. That would make sense. Because it's in his mind that I can't beat him. But, okay, it is what it is. It wasn't a 5-star match. I wasn't a fan of the restart, to be honest with you. And it could have kept it didn't need to happen. You could have kept this match on Dynamite, to be honest with you. Or Rampage.
Yeah. I mean, it's the biggest of pay-per-view, so they had to have Chris Jericho on it. So I understand that. And let's get to the match that why everybody bought this damn pay-per-view. CM Punk defeated Darby Allin in 16 minutes and 44 seconds. It wasn't Shawn Michaels Triple H at SummerSlam 02, but it did what it needed to do, and it was a pretty good match, if I do say so myself as well.
I don't know if you saw it, but in the early part of the match, they did a little spot that Brett and Sean Waltman, at the time he was a 2-3 kid, did like, oh, okay, I see you, young guy. Okay. And I enjoyed that. And I enjoyed everything that they did. This match, yeah, I wasn't expecting to see like a 5-star match, to be honest with you, because obviously we know Punk has not physically been inside of the square circle unless you watch Heels. Episode 3. He's on episode 3 of Heels. You know what show I'm talking about?
Yes.
With Stephen Armel. He was on episode 3. I think his name was Ricky Rabies.
Yes.
His name was Ricky Rabies. And I watched him have the match with Stephen Armel, and he blew out his knee, and he's like, take us home, kid. Take us home, kid. And I was like, okay. So this and knowing that he was coming back to do an actual match in AEW and watching that episode, which I enjoy that show very much. I think it's one of the best kept secrets when it comes to a thing outside of the universe of professional wrestling. But this match, he looked great for somebody that hadn't been in the ring for 7 years. Darby in the loss, taking the loss doesn't hurt him, because arguably Darby Allin is one of the top stars in AEW. It's him, Britt Baker, Jungle Boy are your 3 cornerstone guys that are non marks like ourselves would know about. Those 3 are the pillars, and I would have to say Adam Hangman Page is the other guy that was an unknown and was built kind of in the AEW market and MJF to an extent. But Punk beating him doesn't hurt him down the line, and you'll probably see Punk go up or do a trios match with him, with Darby and Sting, with Daniel Garcia and 2.0 somewhere down the road. But yeah, I didn't have a problem with this match. It's true, everybody bought the pay-per-view to see Punk's return, and he didn't disappoint.
Absolutely. What'd you think of the long tights on Punk?
You're older. Punk's a little bit older than I am. Yeah, there's sometimes that flattering shorts or tights don't really look good on a guy. You know what I mean? You're getting up there in there, so you got to cover the legs.
All right. And that brings us to the next match. Paul White defeated QT Marshall in 3 minutes and 2 seconds. This was definitely more of a popcorn match, which I kind of disappointed in, because Paul White was a big part of wrestling and can still be a big part of wrestling, but I did sense that he maybe not been able to go as well as he has in the past. Did you pick that up too, Drew? And what did you think of that?
I did, because he's just coming off hip surgery.
Yeah.
He's coming off hip surgery, and especially a guy his size. I didn't expect anything more. I think this was more of that cool down match, like when they gave us the tag team cage match and then went to the casino battle royal. That's the cool down period. Yeah. I think this match between the Punk match and the main event is that cool down period. So yeah, giving them 3 minutes to go out there, and Paul White bashes in QT Marshall's head. I just thought he should have used the punch instead of the choke slam to finish him. But other than that, I understand why they did what they did.
All right. And that brings us to the AEW World Championship match. Kenny Omega versus he defeated Christian Cage in 22 minutes and 1 second. Honestly, I was so gassed at this point that it felt like, Hogan and Rock, then watching Jericho, Triple H, WrestleMania 18. What was your thoughts?
I had the same thoughts because I was in the crowd for WrestleMania 18 from the lovely Skydome here in Toronto, Ontario, Canada. And yeah, you would be burnt out, because you look at it, you got 22 minutes of that great tag team match. You got the return of Punk with Darby Allin for 16 minutes. And then, you only kind of got 3 minutes to cool down. And then you go into Omega and Cage. And, I said this on my previous show over at the Gr8ful Yardy Podcast, is that I really thought that they should have closed the show with Punk and Allin because everybody bought the pay-per-view to see Punk. So I think they should have closed the show with Punk. And earlier on, before the pay-per-view, when I saw that they were going to put the title match, first thing I said was that's the wrong thing to do. It's a bad mistake. You could have sent the crowd home in Chicago happy with CM Punk winning the match. But I understood why you did what you did because of whom showed up after the main event.
Right. And that brings us to that moment. After the match with Cage and Omega, they had a beatdown of Christian, which proceeded for Adam Cole to come out and align himself with the Elite once again, the same people that murdered him 4 years ago. And then after that, Bryan Danielson made his AEW return, making the save, getting a little physical, and sending the crowd away happy. Before I forget, to kind of reiterate what you said about the crowd being gassed, I mean, even the cool down match, the women's battle royal, people popped hard for Ruby Soho. So even the cool down match got a bigger pop than Omega and Christian. But let's talk about Daniel Bryan and Adam Cole and what this means for pro wrestling right now. Drew.
I'm gonna agree with Punk. I don't know if you saw the they did like a press thing at the end of the show, and Punk said this moment is bigger than when Hall showed up on Nitro. And I totally agree with that. Because you're talking about a guy in April of this year being a part of the main event of the WWE's biggest show. And fast forward, what?
6 months?
6 months later, he's showing up on the rival show. Like, let's call a spade a spade. AEW is legit competition to WWE. Hands down. This is Donda versus Certified Lover Boy. That's what it is. Adam Cole, the cornerstone of NXT, the longest reigning champion in the history of that brand, that was just on the latest takeover, what, a month ago? Or less than a month ago?
Yeah.
Shows up on AEW television or on the AEW pay-per-view? These are not guys that were sitting out on the sidelines waiting for their 90-day no compete. Their contracts were legitly up, and they're like, man, I see what's going on over at AEW. I'm joining those dudes over there. Boom, just like that. This changes the trajectory of wrestling because there's going to be guys that are on the WWE roster that feel like they are not being utilized that will legitly wait out their contract. They won't ask for a release where they have to sit at home for 90 days or 60 days. They will legitly wait out their contract. And if Tony Khan, as he says before, this is not like the NFL where there is a salary cap. If he has the money and the guys want to come and work, he will sign them. This is not like when Eric Bischoff was signing Hogan and Hall and Nash and Macho Man and Gene Okerlund and Bobby the Brain Heenan, the guys that were kind of over the hill. That could have gave you another maybe year or two. These are guys that are in their legit prime. Like, yeah, Bryan Danielson is my age. He's 40. Okay, but
he could still go.
He can still go. Adam Cole's what? In his late 20s, early 30s?
He's
still can go.
Mid-30s, I believe.
Okay. Still can go.
Yeah.
We're not talking about guys that are 40, 45 years old. We're talking guys that legitimately have kept themselves. Well, I'm looking up Adam Cole's age. He's 32. Adam Cole is 32 years old.
Okay.
32 years old. And you're able to go and work with your friends and be creative. Everybody talks about Adam Cole's the next Shawn Michaels. No, I think Adam Cole is better. And you can quote me on this. Adam Cole is better than Shawn Michaels is. Adam Cole can talk on the mic. Adam Cole can go in the ring, and he looks like $1 million, and the women them love him. He ain't an ugly dude. Sean can kind of cut a promo. Obviously, he's the everybody says is the greatest in-ring worker of all time, and I'm not going to dispute that. But he couldn't really talk on the mic, and he was a decent look. He's a good-looking guy earlier on in his career.
Yeah, he's a sexy boy.
Adam Cole has everything. He looks great, can speak on the mic, and can go in the ring. And now this guy left the WWE because you heard the rumor that they wanted to pair him with Keith Lee for Keith Lee to be him to be Keith Lee's manager.
Yeah.
Are you serious?
I mean, that's how they viewed him, which is incredible.
Exactly. And I could understand why guys are like, "That's what you're offering me."
And I can understand.
My boy's got a promotion. I'm going over there. It's not like.
What I was going to say was, I can understand where he would have made that work because he's Adam Cole. My problem with is they wanted to change his name from Adam Cole because Michael Cole was on commentary. Get Michael Cole the fuck off commentary because Adam Cole needs to be Adam Cole. That's what I had the hiccup.
Yeah. It's like when I just don't get letting these two top guys go. Yeah, Bryan didn't say anything bad about WWE or they were holding him back or anything like that and all that. And he has nothing but love for them. But to be honest with you, what else was there for the character of Bryan or Daniel Bryan to do in the WWE?
Right.
What he was like, to be honest with you, he loses the way he lost, which was embarrassing. He got stacked and folded by the tribal chief. Okay, so he comes back and what? Redeems himself? I get why he's there because there is a bunch of guys that he can work with that he's never worked with before, and he gets to work with them the way that Bryan Danielson, the American Dragon, wants to work with him. So I totally understand why you would jump ship. I totally understand why Adam Cole would jump ship. I totally understand why Ruby Soho jumped ship. I totally understand why Punk saw the opportunity to come back to pro wrestling because now it is fun again. Up north, as they called it back in the day, it's sports entertainment. That's what you're doing. You're not in pro wrestling. You're a sports entertainer. You're a WWE superstar. Changing, like, that's what I'm saying. Like, these guys have developed characters before they got to WWE. Like, Adam Cole's character was already developed before he showed up to form the Undisputed Era when he did.
Oh, yeah.
Like, Bryan Danielson already had years of Japan and Mexico, all around the world, being the Ring of Honor champion, all that kind of stuff before he showed up in WWE. And I just feel like they watered him down. And that's what they would probably do to Adam Cole, water him down, call him like Cole Alexander or something.
Oh, God.
Yeah. Like, it's I don't know, you saw what Mick Foley said after All Out too.
Yes.
That WWE has a problem. And if I was a young guy, I don't know if I'm going to WWE because you have created your own character outside of this company and fans know you from this character. So Adam Cole can't be Adam Cole. He's now James Adams or something. world of they're gonna spin on it. They're gonna be like, that's Adam Cole.
Yeah.
Right?
I mean,
So I understand to an extent why all those people left. I understand you're not being used. You're like Andrade sitting in catering for 4 years, Malachi Black sitting in catering and not doing anything. I totally get why they left. I get it. You got your release and you can go somewhere else where you can utilize your creativity and be a creative. So be it. But this move and this moment, yes, the Punk moment was huge. This moment is also huge. This right now is a flag in the ground saying, hey, WWE, we are your competition. Hands down.
now, we got Daniel Bryan, Bryan Danielson, Adam Cole, CM Punk. And I enjoyed the moment. It was a great moment, and these guys are here, and they're here to stay. Um, my problem is, you know, Bryan Danielson. That's gonna be hard to remember. Um, he's going straight for Kenny Omega. What happens to Hangman Page? CM Punk defeated Darby Allin. Where does Darby Allin go? The stars that they made. My problem is the stars that they made that are AEW originals, kind of getting lost in the shuffle, kind of getting played in the undercard, and maybe not getting those opportunities in those championship matches that they would get if there wasn't a Daniel Bryan or Adam Cole on the card. Could you agree, disagree?
I agree with you. And this is the problem that a good old company that went to bed in 2001 had. That's WCW. They had great stars under the card. You had Eddie Guerrero, Dean Malenko, Chris Jericho. You had Rey Mysterio at the time. You had that whole cruiserweight division.
You also had Stone Cold and The Rock. They had Stone Cold and Triple H at one point.
There's 3 guys that were at WCW that ended up becoming major stars in WWE. Mark Callis, aka The Undertaker. Then you had Terror Rising, or John Paul Levesque, which is Triple H, and Stunning Steve Austin, which is Stone Cold Steve Austin. Those 3 all wrestled in WCW, and a good friend of ours that we all love and God rest his soul, Dusty Rhodes, didn't see money in them. Same with, there's another guy that was wrestling in California named Samoa Joe that both Bruce Pritchard and Jim Ross told to get out of wrestling because he wouldn't make it.
Yeah.
So, like you were saying, the originals of AEWs, the Darbys, the Hangman Pages, the MJFs, with these guys being there, hurts their push. In a sense, it does hurt their push because they're now the flavors of the month. So like the first match that Bryan Danielson is gonna have is going to be against Kenny Omega. Okay, we're gonna get a 5-star match, arguably.
But it doesn't do anything for Kenny. Kenny has Daniel Bryan
is
not going to give a rub to Daniel Bryan.
And we're also forgetting guys that they also have brought in before these guys. What happens to Pac? What happens to Andrade? You know what I mean? Like Malachi Black, which to me, I love everything that guy does. Anytime his entrance hits on the TV, I'm glued to it.
He needs to be AEW champion in the next 6 months.
Yes. Like, my thing is, it was a great moment, and yeah, it's like seeing a unicorn. Wow, amazing. Now what next? I don't know if you remember this cartoon, Roadrunner and Coyote. Coyote catches Roadrunner on 2 separate occasions.
Really?
And looks at us, breaks the 4th wall, and looks at us and puts up a sign and says, "What do I do now?" You know why? Because the whole story was his pursuit of the Roadrunner. Now he finally gets him. The story ends. So Daniel Bryan wins the championship from Kenny Omega. What happens to Kenny Omega? What happens to the Elite? Right? What happens? Is there infighting? What happens? CM Punk goes on this great run and he beats all the young guys that are in AEW. He beats Darby. Then he beats Daniel Garcia, which is another guy that's coming up. I don't know if you watched the Dynamite after All Out. Yep. But he challenges members of Team Taz, which are all young guys. Ricky Starks, Hobbs. I think he even challenged Hook.
Yeah.
So it's like you have to go over because you're the big guy coming in. Unless you're saying, no, I'm going to lose. And here's the thing, and he even admitted this on Renee's podcast, that the win and loss thing in AEW, it's hard. It's hard to keep up with.
Yes.
Because it's not like, oh, like if I'm watching MMA and I'm watching a fight between this guy and this guy, and oh, he has a record of 12-4, and this guy has a record of 5-0. Okay, because we know they've fought other people maybe in the company or outside of the company, and this is the professional thing. With AEW, yeah, I've seen so many records that got 19-3. Moxley is 37-3 over the last 2 years. It's like, okay, like, but if Moxley has a better win-loss percentage, why did Christian get a championship match?
Yeah. Don't get us started on the wins and loss matters thing, because we have gone into that into detail, and it doesn't make sense. And if there was one thing that I really wish that AEW would get rid of, it is that wins and losses matters, and
it has to go,
and the rankings,
because
system.
it does not work. Like, either you do rankings or either you make weight classes. Those are the only. If you're trying to be non-WWE and be legitimate sport, if you will, you have to find a way to be legitimate sport. Like, what works in mixed martial arts is the weight class. So somebody that's 265 pounds is not going to be fighting somebody that has to weigh in at 135. You know that. You know what I mean? Like, yeah. You're not going to see Powerhouse Hobbs go up against Darby Allin in a match.
Right.
But that takes away. Yeah, that takes away from what we love about wrestling. Yeah. The big guy goes. The big guy is David versus Goliath. That's what we know. So when you say win losses matter, so CM Punk goes and fights, let's say, Powerhouse Hobbs and beats him. So now Powerhouse Hobbs looks like a jobber. Then CM Punk goes and faces Ricky Starks, and faces him for the FTW belt and beats him. Now Ricky Starks looks like a chump. So all of Team Taz look like chumps.
Well,
like what they're doing with Miro in the TNT Championship. Yeah, it makes sense. He was going after people that he know he could beat. He know he could beat Fuego and all that. Like, those are squash matches. So now when he challenges Eddie Kingston, it's believable that now Eddie Kingston could actually beat Miro for the TNT Championship. It makes sense. I think bringing in all these guys are great for the moment. It pops the internet. Oh, we got 200 buys on the pay-per-view, or 200,000 buys on the pay-per-view. It's the greatest pay-per-view of all time. And I'm not disputing any of that completely. It was one of the best wrestling shows I've watched in a long time. Yes, at the end, like you said, it kind of fell off because it was a little too long. Just a little bit too long. But with all of this momentum now, it's what are you going to do with it?
Yes.
what are you going to do with this momentum? You have Punk, you have Cole, you have Danielson, you have Ruby Soho. Now everybody's like, oh, let's look who's left. Bray Wyatt's contract's up on Halloween. His 90 days up on Halloween. What if everybody can't join AEW?
Yeah.
Everybody can't join AEW, then it becomes WWE light. That's what it becomes. It's all elite it's all elite wrestling entertainment. That's what it becomes.
Yeah.
Because you can't sign everybody that used to work there. You know what? I would love Bray Wyatt to show up on Impact Wrestling. Show up there with his brother and with Braun Strowman. Show up there. Feud with Decay. Bring in another female that's a free agent and make her be Sister Abigail. And do what you really wanted to do in WWE outside of WWE. Do something like that. Yeah. I don't want, like now, to me, if I'm Tony Khan, I'm putting a stop at signing anybody. I signed 3 big names in the last 3 weeks. I don't need to sign any big names. Anybody that I'm signing is kind of like an unknown, like a Lee Moriarty got signed recently. Yep. Or somebody, like somebody that's on the indies, or somebody that's contracts up in Ring of Honor, or somebody that was in Impact and their contracts is up and want to come over to AEW, like Akira Hogan, stuff like that. Sign those guys. You've done your big shopping already. Like, if you look at it the way like you do sports, like, okay, there's a big name free agent coming out this summer in the NBA. We'll just say it's Giannis is the big guy, even though he's not. So if you were able to get him, right? And then you got Giannis, then you got Joel Embiid, and then you got Dame Lillard. You don't need to do any more heavy lifting for a while. Your team is good. And I think AEW's team is completely good after picking up these Punk, Soho, Cole, Bryan Danielson. Your heavy lifting when it comes to name cachet superstars is done. Anybody else that you're signing should be those guys that are filling up Dark and Dark Elevation, or some guys that have been wrestling on Dark and now come up and start feuding. That's why I was happy with seeing MJF feuding with Brian Pillman Jr. I'm all for that. And then the whole dissension with MJF and Warlord, that makes sense to me because you guys are original to AEW. Don't start bringing in people from that were wrestling in WWE because you're going to water down your own product. And what you should worry about, don't worry about what AEW should not be worrying about what WWE is doing over there. Let WWE do what they're doing. You focus on you. You focus on what you're doing, and you putting out the best wrestling show to wrestling fans. And that's all you got to worry about. And once you realize that yes, they are competition, because I know Coke doesn't worry about Pepsi and Pepsi doesn't worry about Coke. They put out their product, right?
Right.
And that's what these two wrestling companies do too. And I think Vince and Nick Khan and that team worry about themselves, and then AEW is worrying about looking good to their big brother. You can't. You got to be your own thing. You got to be your own thing. And if you're going to be the alternative, be the alternative. But your heavy lifting of signing big name stars is over. Stop it, because then you're going to water down your product. And those guys that are AEW originals, like the MJFs, the Darby Allins, the Jungle Boys, the Hangman Pages, the Dark Order guys, all of those guys that were originally signed to AEW are going to get lost in the shovel if you continuously bring in known superstars.
Now, since we covered everything of this pay-per-view, was this a thumbs up, thumbs down, thumbs in the middle?
It's 2 thumbs up, way up to the sky.
Oh yeah,
arguably it's the best show of 2021.
Yeah, I'd say so too.
It's the best show of 2021, right? As we speak today, it's the best show of 2021.
And that will conclude our coverage of AEW All Out. end this episode. Thank you so much for coming on and doing this with me, Drew.
Man, it's always a good thing to talk to other fellow wrestling fans where we can agree, disagree, maybe collar and elbow tie up, and maybe do a hip toss and go for the 1, 2, 3.
Absolutely. And if you want more Drew, you can find him on the Gr8ful Yardy Podcast. Can you tell us where we could find all of that?
Gr8ful Yardy Podcast is available on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Podcast Addict, Overcast. We're everywhere now. Thanks to our great friends over at Anchor.fm. And also you can check out Anchor.fm. We're there too. For me on the social media thing, that is Drew Wrestling 99 on Twitter. Instagram is Drew_Wrestling99. And our Facebook page is facebook.com/Gr8ful, and Gr8ful is spelled GR8FUL.
And if you like what we're doing, please like, subscribe, comment, vote on YouTube and Castbox. Join me this Wednesday as I interview Germany's greatest secret, Germany's best kept secret, Lori. And follow the show on Twitter and Instagram at WrestlingWithE for all of your Wrestling with Entertainment needs. You could follow all of us individually as well. I am at JamesJ993. You can follow Kaliko at I am Kaliko, and you can follow Scooter Dust at Scooter Dust. For our special guest, Drew, Kaliko Yacht, Scooter Dust, I'm James Shane, and this has been Wrestling with Entertainment.
Hey folks, this is the Colossal Mike Law, and you are listening to Wrestling with Entertainment. Enjoy the show, support these guys. We appreciate it very much. We'll see you at ringside.